Hey y'all, this ever be, and I wanted to go over some of my new orbs with you guys that I had just recently uploaded. I want to go over some stuff with y'all, and then I wanted to go over a few old images that I had put up. So we're gonna start with this one. This orb, I'm gonna show you where this orb was. It flew past my coat in the closet. So that's my coat. There's a few other things, maybe a scarf around it or something, all the colors you see. Right over the orb, that's like a zipper or something that's hanging down. So that's not an eye, just other little stuff. But you can see the orb right here. It flew, it flew past my closet. Like this is my coat and some other stuff. So I just wanted y'all to see that. You look at this orb, I got some yellow lines going through this to the, pointing at stuff. And you can see that move the recorder down. You can see this is an orb. This flew past my coat in the closet. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to see. Because the pictures are bigger, but I wanted you to see the actual orb in motion. And so the video, I still got to do some stuff with the video, like take some parts out of it. But this is it. Now, I want you to see the bottom. We're at the bottom of the orb. It looked like feet or claws or something, and I've enlarged that too for you guys. But up over the orb where it looked like a little shiny thing, that's a zipper hanging down. I double checked it. That's a zipper, not an eye. But can you see these little at the bottom? It looked like little claws. This is an orb. This is an orb flying past my coat in the closet. You can see the bottom look like little claws or something. And we're gonna get back to that. But if you can see that, where it looked like feet, like a chicken or a hen's feet, something like that. Then the orb got some stuff on top of it. We're gonna get to that too. And plus, look at the front of the orb. Well, it kind of resembles a rooster or something. I would say a mechanical rooster, but like a rooster or a chicken or a hen. It's something on the top part of where the head is too. Okay, so this is the or we going over. We're gonna go over this and some more, but this one right now. So let's start at the beginning. All right. You can see some things on top of this orb. This is the orb that flew past my coat in my closet. This one thing, look, the arrow is pointing at, look like could be a camera. You know how some security cameras are, and they come out and then they go up. That's how they be on the buildings or something. They got different kinds, but some of them come out like an arm and then go upwards, right? The one that the back arrow is pointing to. And then it's a whole lot of little things on the front of it. And right here on the very front, look like could be a long antenna of some sort. Right there on the front, that could be an antenna. That's straight. It's shaped straight up and down. Right? And you see all these little things around this orb. Look like could be cameras. Now, you know how, first I thought a rocket, rockets have that, had them things around the bottom of it, and you'll see the smoke coming out of that, and when it take off, you'll see steam coming out of them little things out the bottom. I don't know what that's called. First I thought about that. But when you hear a lot of UFO stories and things like that, you'll hear them say, people will say they didn't hear, because I'm thinking it's a little tiny UFO. I mean, this is a little tiny ship, but and it's designed like a bird or a chicken or something. That's just the design of it. Stay with me here. You hear people say that when people that say they saw UFOs in real life and things like that, they didn't hear no sound. They didn't hear an engine. It was very quiet. They didn't hear no, no smoke or, see no smoke or nothing like that because they're, whatever they use for fuel or whatnot, you hear testimonies from, people that's been around that stuff or claim to be around that stuff allegedly, that they don't run their stuff, their machines and stuff. Like they don't use the same um things that we do to run our machines and things like that. So their fuel is different. But first I was looking at it like a little rocket that they got designed in the form of a bird or something. And maybe these are little, is it jet engines or something around it? But when you look at the ones up here in the background, they wouldn't be up that high because they would damage this tall thing, which looks like an antenna. Okay, stay with me, stay with me. Now this is that part close up. I took a lot of pictures, but this is that part close up, and you can actually, see it, and I don't know why things get blurry like this, but I'm recording the orb, the best I can. And it seems like the more you try to enlarge the photos, the blurrier they get. So I don't know what that's about. But I just took several images so you guys can see. These little black things look like cameras to me. They look like cameras. And the one tall thing in the front look like an antenna. All of this is on top of an orb. On the top of the orb. Here is the whole orb. You can kind of see the little chicken-like feet or claws or hooks at the bottom. Look at that. You can see that. Now maybe they just got it designed that way, because I'm thinking this is a ship, not a actual entity. It's a ship designed to look like a bird or a chicken or something. A little small ship. When they are camouflaging it as, I don't know why they're doing that, but I'm pointing to what I think is cameras again. See that? Now I try to get the bottom close up. Look like hooks or, again, some type of feet to me. Again. And here it is by the coat. Now, I was trying to point out some other things too that I want to share with you guys. This is the whole orb. See, you got the little feet at the bottom, or what I think is some to resemble like hen feet or claws. He got the little black things on the top of the back part, but what I said was an antenna and some cameras back there. Okay, and here's the front. Notice I'm pointing to, I got some, some lines pointing to some things. You see why I say it looks like a rooster? A mechanical type rooster. Because you can see the difference in the texture. Like where the orb is covered, it's covered with some kind of ethereal mist or something. But it's something up under this orb. Because you can look and see it. They look like a hole in the top of this. The yellow line at the top where the head would be. And then look like some colorful hair or something, And then there's a hole right there where like maybe a nose would be. Or a mouth. Nose. And then you see like one hole look like it could be an eye. Right? And look down here where these two lines at. Where it look like feet. But they're kind of crumpled in or something. Like, I had a pet bird. And that's what it reminds me of. Like bird feet. A hen feet or something like that. That's what it reminds me of. But see the two lines down here at the bottom? They point to like these feet looking, but they curled in, you know. Now, I think it's a ship. I don't think it's an actual entity. I think, you know, yeah. This is a different orb. And this one was flying too. And if you look at the orb, you can see you can see the mist around it. That's the orb. But it's something under this orb also. This is a different one. You see? See the shapes and stuff. Now look at this orb. This is an orb. You see these little different shapes? And I don't know if these are small, tiny ships designed with these type of designs. Like you can see, look like an eye might be up here. Can you guys see that? That's definitely a design at the front or the bottom of this orb, whichever end this may be. That's a design. See that? Okay. Here is the front of the first one I showed you. This is a bigger version of it. It's different orb from this one. These are two different orbs. See, these orbs got designs, but they are hidden by the mist. That's what I'm telling you. This that first one. You can see I got an arrow at the top pointing to what's at the top. Look like green and pink hair or something sticking up. This could be an entity. I don't know. It could be just a little ship. But I got an arrow pointing to what I think is a mouth, the head. And if you look at this, it literally looks like a rooster or a chicken or something. But it's a side profile. It's a side profile, like, it's not taken from the front. It's a side profile. And you can look and see like the mechanics. You see that hole in the top right there that I pointed to in one of the other pictures? Look at the mouth and the nose, what you would think alleged mouth and nose. Let's just say that. And an eye. This looks like a rooster or a chicken's face almost. Y'all can't see that? And there's some little hair at the top. Green and pink, pink and green. Right? Also, we gonna look at this feet. Look at that. That don't look like little claws to y'all? Like a rooster or a chicken or a bird. That's what it remind me of. When they pull their feet back and pull them in, that's what it looks like. The way they little legs and feet bend. This is what this is supposed to resemble. And you can see, this is a design. This was an orb that was flying. And I recorded it. And when you see them flying, you just see them. They look like little lights or balls or something. But you once you start recording them, you can go and play it back in slow motion and get these screenshots and zoom in, and you will see a lot of stuff in those. Or if they're really true orbs, you'll see a lot of stuff. Because when it's flying around, you just see orb, because they are camouflaged by something. These pictures are taken and zoomed in like thousands of times. They're zoomed in large. And that's how I'm able to see, more to the orbs. So this was an orb. Look at the face. Allegedly. Okay? And there's some hair up here or something at the top. To me, it resembles a rooster Or it's supposed to resemble a rooster, I guess. Okay. This is an old video. These are old images that I took. This is actually on my channel, but I can't tell you which one it is. It's one of my favorites I hold dear to my heart. This is an eye. Now, it don't look like our eye. It doesn't look like our eye or any animal we've seen eye. But I'm going to tell you where this eye came from. So, I have a camera up on my front porch. I have what you would call a sun porch. It's closed in. My camera is up on the wall, high, kind of mounted high up. So it's inside, but it's facing my door. Like if people come into my porch and all that stuff, I got a closed in porch. You can't just walk up on it. And so my camera can keep an eye on my, packages or something, if I'm not at home. That's what the camera was for. When I was showing y'all pictures before from the backyard, the camera back there was because I have an alley that runs back there. And sometimes I park in the back. So there's an alley that runs through the back. And so I got a security camera over the back, just for my safety. Anywho, so my front camera, outside of my front porch, there's a little strip of grass right there. There's a strip of grass right outside my front porch. And that's where the eye came from. So if my camera had captured this. This is what my camera captured. Now, there's an orb right here. Not the light, because the light that you see is just a porch lamp. But there's an orb down here at the bottom. Right? And if you pay attention when you record in orbs, you'll notice sometimes some things around the orb. So don't just pay attention to the orb. Look around the orb, like the area that the orb is in, and you might see what's controlling the orb. Or, you might get to see that entity, or you might get to see another dimension. Real talk. So if you look at my grass, this is my strip of grass. I can't zoom this no more, but I do have it zoomed on other pictures. You can take this and zoom this. Look at this grass right here. You'll see eyes. This is my grass. Now, when I saw this, my camera gave me an alert and it started recording with movement because of the orb. The orbs trigger the camera. They have enough energy to trigger the camera. But also if a cat or a dog walk past that front porch, this angle is outside the front porch. This is a strip of grass. It's a skinny strip of grass right outside my front porch. It's not really big, the grass. And if a dog or cat walks past, the camera is mounted up across from this window. So if the dog or cat, it'll set the camera off too. But in this case, this orb is what set it off. This orb that I'm pointing, the arrow is pointing to, that's what made the alarm. So when I looked, stay with me here. When the alarm went and I looked, I see the orb. But I also noticed something else. Now, where my grass should be, these are eyes. And that was the first eye that I showed you. But I'm going to show you more. So, I'm looking to see what the camera is, alerting to. That's where this came from. So, let's move on. So, this is that grass. Look at these little designs. I don't know why everything is blurry when you're trying to capture alien activity and stuff. I don't get that. But my camera is recording outside of the window is in between the camera and the grass. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's not outside over the grass. The camera is inside, and then you got the window, then you got the grass. So, maybe that's why. But this is my grass. This should be my grass outside that window. See? It's full of eyes. These are eyes. I pointed to two. But if you look, you could see more. There's definitely more than two eyes. Now, I know how this look and sound, right? Especially to people that, don't get into this. I've been experiencing this since I was a little kid. Um and I know God and I love God, and um as far as I'm concerned, God is the one that gave me these abilities. He gave them to me for a reason. So, um yeah, maybe I'm supposed to be showing it to you guys or something. I still don't know why I have the abilities, but yes, I know and love God. So this ain't got nothing to do with witchcraft and stuff. When people freak out, oh God, it's demons and all this. I've been seeing this stuff since a kid. I've never been harmed or frightened by it. Just, so let's get that out there. I just see it. Now you can see these are eyes. And if you look at the bottom one, where I got the arrow pointing to the bottom, that's the first eye I showed you. But you can see other eyes are down there. This is my grass, right? So when I saw this, I walked outside. I immediately got up and stepped out. You just stick my head out the porch. And of course, it's just grass there. If somebody's walking past, they see grass. This is what the camera is showing. So when people say, well, how come other people don't see it and this and that and all of that, the camera is showing this stuff. It's not something regular people would see just walking past. The camera is making it show. Just like when I used to record all the funny looking bugs in the back and the different stuff. People walking past wouldn't see that. My camera in the back was on infrared night vision. And so it would see that. So somebody walking past would not see it with their natural eyes, because our eyes are not, we have physical limits. And I think that you can see this stuff once you raise your frequency, because, it's an energy frequency type thing, vibration thing. And if you don't know energy, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying. So you have to raise your frequency to a very positive aura. And you can't trick it or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it identifies, with frequency. And so once a person's frequency has reached a certain level, the veil is lifted. I actually think I was born with this, but, some people achieve it through raising their frequency. Right? So this is my grass. So because the orb was there, a lot of times when you see orbs, they're, coming in and out from another dimension. A lot of them is in our space. They're just in our space. I guess the dimensions are next to each other, or we all just share the same space. But a lot of times, look around that orb. When you see an orb and you take a picture of it, look around it. Look at the space around it, like where you see the orb at. And you'll notice like some of your furniture and stuff look warped and stuff. I noticed this years ago. Like I recorded an orb in my bedroom. And when I went back and looked at the footage and everything and did some screenshots, my furniture looked warped. Like it looked strange, like it was melting or something. And it wasn't. It just looked like that in a picture. So that's how you can tell, another dimension or something is open. You get what I'm saying? Because it makes our stuff look weird, and I start noticing that. You won't see it with all of it, I guess. It's different rules, or I don't know. But with some orbs that I have recorded, my furniture looked weird in the background. The furniture that was in the picture with the orb, it looked warped, like it was melting or something. And that brings me to believe, of course, all this stuff is allegedly, I'm just guessing at it, but I've been doing it for a long time. It just brings me to believe that another dimension is open. If it don't close up right away, you might see some other stuff. This is why my grass turned into eyeballs. You know, I'm an older lady. I don't know anything about AI or none of that. All I know how to do, if the video is too long, cut it at the end. YouTube make that very easy for you. It's apps you can use for that. And then I know how to play it in slow motion so I could get good images. I don't know how to do AI. I'm not a witch. I don't do voodoo or none of that. I know God. I love God. I've been knowing God since I was a little girl. I was taught about God at an early age. This has nothing to do with that. I just see this stuff and I record it and I share it with you guys. That's it. You know, I say my prayers every night. Me and God is good. I don't have nothing to do with none of that other stuff. You know, reading tarot cards and pomps. I don't know nothing about that stuff. Okay, this is another orb. And if you look at it, you know, and it's smaller, in a smaller version, it just looked like a colorful orb. I thought, oh, so pretty. Um, this video is on my channel too, because every time I upload an image, I try to add the actual video the image came from. But it'll be a short clip, like 5 seconds, 4 seconds or something. You know, I try to do that so you guys can actually see the image in real time and stop it and pause it and zoom in and you'll get the same picture that I got. So I do that with a lot of my images. But this was an orb. I enlarged it, of course, and this is an entity. I thought the orb was pretty. It has some pretty colors. But when you look at this orb, this is some type of entity. Allegedly, I think I see an ear over there. Don't look like our ear, but an ear. Look like maybe a neck. There's an eye. And there's another eye over there. You can't see the whole eye, though. And, you know, this is his nose and his face. This is an entity. Could be a spirit guide or something like that, you know. They come in, you know, all forms, I guess. But the mouth kind of remind me of, you know, what animal would have like a mouth like that? You know, with that big front right there. And I was trying to think, but this is an entity. See it? That is a whole entity right there. It was a tiny colorful orb that I enlarged. Right? All right, let's keep going. Here is a spirit. I keep telling you people that spirit, orbs are not just spirit. Okay? Now, this was not inside of an orb. This is just a regular spirit. It's not inside of an orb. When I record orbs, and I know everybody have a different experience, when I record orbs, I see extraterrestrial images inside of orbs. I don't see human features in orbs when I record them. I don't see that. Some people do. I don't. When I see spirit, it's not in an orb. It's outside of an orb. This is a spirit that I recorded. I did a recording in a I want to say a hospital like setting. And you can see this is a spirit. You can see the face. You can see a nose and eyes. It doesn't have, and maybe even some legs at the bottom. You know, it's not a real clear, but God help me. I recorded a spirit, and this is not inside of an orb. But the video is on my channel, and there's a lot of orbs in that video. The same video, it's a clip, but this is a spirit, and he or she doesn't have enough energy to show in a full form. So you can see a lot of it is missing. But you can see the face. Yeah. But it look like the insides and stuff is missing where, a chest or a stomach or something would be. That's not there. A lot of times they need a lot of energy to to come in full form. So maybe that's why they come in orb form. I don't know. But that is a whole spirit right there. And it kind of, I thought it looked like a cat. Maybe an animal spirit. But I wasn't sure. But it's a spirit. That is a spirit. This one is another orb I recorded. And kind of look like colors of a supernova, I guess. And I don't know where arms and legs or anything would be on this orb because it's got a lot going on. But there's an entity. This is an entity. And this was just a colorful orb. It was very tiny. All I did was record it and enlarge it. So it wasn't, flying across the house looking like this. It was a little bitty colorful orb like these little balls you see all around it. And I enlarged it. And this is what I saw. This is an entity. Of course, it doesn't look like anything we've ever seen. But it's not just colors. Let me see. Yeah, I think, yeah. Okay. This is I say the best one for last. This orb I recorded years ago. And I did not notice this till recently, I want to say. This was recorded over, I want to say 10, maybe 8, 9 years ago. But I just not noticed this a few years ago. So I was recording this beautiful blue orb right here. You see this blue orb? This is what I was recording. Right? And that was it. I just put it away in my photos. Years later, I'm looking around, because going forward, I start noticing, when I would record orbs, other things was going on around the orbs, in the space around the orbs. I would notice that. So I start going back looking at some of my old photos, that I had for, some, just to see if I could spot anything around those orbs, because I start noticing in my recent stuff that is you might find other stuff around the orb. Not all the time, but just when you record the orb, make sure you look around it in the space that's around it too, because you might see an open dimension or you might see what's controlling that orb. Okay, so remember, the focus is the orb. Years later, I'm just checking some of my old photos out and I see this. You see, it's something behind that orb. Look at that. There is something behind this orb. Now, I never noticed that till years later. But I'm going to show you where I actually, cut it and did the picture by what's behind it by itself. So this is what's behind that orb. And if you look, you can see it's got something in his arm or in his hand. This may be making, this may be the device for the orb. It's a little black. It's something in his arm. Right? This is an entity that was behind that orb. And I didn't notice this till years later. You can see he has a nose. You can see one eye. He's looking over. It looked like the other eye is closed a bit. You can see a mouth. Look like the mouth might be open too. And then it's like he's got like those ears. It kind of puts you in the mind of what you see in the movies, like a troll. He looks like a troll, like a real life troll. And this was behind that orb. Look. You have to look real good to see it. I understand that it's, if you look at the bottom, you can see the funny looking feet. They don't look like ours. But if you think of movies where you've seen trolls, this is what this looked like. Okay? Now, let me do it again. You one eye up there. That's a whole troll hiding behind this orb. Look. I just cut him off the picture, but here it is. You see him back there? Tell me you can't see it. Okay. Now, I can't tell you if this is a bad or a good troll. Mostly blue, this color blue is supposed to represent positive energy. So, contrary to the belief what the movies and stuff tell us, about what's bad and what's good, I don't know. But I'm gonna guess that entities would be bad or good too, Um, as spirits and everything, all spirits wouldn't be good, Um, but I've never had no problems with the orbs, like noise in my house, things being moved around. I've never had that. I have spoke with people that see orbs and they had bad experiences with orbs. So different things handle the orbs. But what I think about orbs is they are some type of advanced traveling surveillance um thing. you know um I don't know if the entities are able to actually get in the orbs it seem like some type of camouflage or something. um but they can see, they can also see through these orbs too. They can see us through the orbs. So I think the orbs is some type of surveillance, advanced plasma type or ethereal surveillance device, that you can travel into, or I don't know. But it's definitely something different that we never seen before. So the orbs are surveillance, and they also are used for travel too, I guess. You know, um, because I see a lot of entities inside these orbs. I don't know if the entities are actually in the orbs or they're just reflecting their image inside the orbs. Like when we do FaceTime, if I if you in San Francisco and I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, and we're talking to each other and looking at each other through this device, I'm not actually in that phone. I'm not in the iPad. I'm not in the device. But you can see me and I can see you, but we're not actually inside those devices. So I don't know if these entities are actually in the orbs. I record a lot of orbs with different images in them, or if they're just reflecting their image in there. But I do know that these orbs are surveillance, some type of surveillance things, you know, and they are designed, they can watch us with, in our natural habits without, interruption, because a lot of people just dismiss them as dust. And a lot of this stuff is dust. Dust and orbs can be mistaken for one another. That is true. But my abilities allow me, I can see them with my bare eyes, and then I also can feel them, before they come. So, I know the presence that they're in the room before I even grab the camera. I know that they're already there. That being said, um, they are able to watch us through these orbs, without us even knowing it, because you can't even really see them. you know Real orbs only show up on camera. You know what I'm saying? Like, the camera makes them show up. Very few people have the ability to see them with their natural eyes. I don't see them all the time with my natural eyes. I have to get the camera most of the time. Sometimes it depends on how they want to show themselves. It's not always. A lot of times I can see them without the camera, but sometimes I can't. you know but most people can't see orbs without the camera, and they are aware of this. They are aware of this, and even if you could see them, everybody is dismissing them as dust. You understand what I'm saying? So, it's actually a brilliant type surveillance device, whatever they are. You know, um, but I've recorded many orbs that had, some type of entity or something behind it or in it or something. And so, um, Yeah, and a lot of them look like they may have little cameras on them and things like that. Um, they look like little tiny ships. So I just thought I would share that with you guys. But yeah, I was focused on this beautiful orb right here. It's got a whole little entity behind it. I don't have problems with orbs. I know some people have had bad experience with orbs, hearing noises, and then you see them on your camera and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what type of energy is in each orb. You get what I'm saying? But um, of course, probably um malevolent with the M, which is not good. Benevolent with the B is good. Malevolent um entities probably do have figure out that and they use the orbs too. I don't know. I've never had no problems with them though, with furniture moving and you know being choked in my sleep and different little stuff like that. I've never had that. So I try to keep my atmosphere around me very positive, high vibrational, so that the ones that come to visit me match my atmosphere, match my energy in my atmosphere. You know, for those of you that having bad experiences with orbs and things like that, you have to clear your atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? Um, check your space and see what's in it, what type of energy is in your space, because energy attracts like. So 9 times out of 10, if you got bad energy or bad entities in your space you think are bothering you, it's got something to do with what's in your space. Like something there is attracting it, or somebody is attracting it. It's either activity or a person that that's attracting that. Yeah. So this was my grass. And again, when I looked out, I couldn't see this with my eyes, you know. And people walking past, I'm sure they couldn't either. This is what the camera was able to see into another dimension. These are eyes. These are eyes right here, where my grass should be. This is one of my favorites. This is an old one. This is one of my favorites with these eyes. See? You see my camera is up across from this window. That's how it's mounted. This orb here is what I was looking at. The orb down here. The thing above it is just a light. You see my grass? That's my grass. It's a little strip in front of my porch. So, and the best eye I could see, because the stuff was blurry. And I don't know why. A lot of UFO pictures and stuff that I take, or recordings, they get dark really quick. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I don't know if it's the government doing that, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure they watch these channels. These channels that put this stuff out here, I'm sure the government is watching. I'm positive. And I don't, when I put images up and stuff, I try to put up the best ones I have with description. And I'll go back 2-3 days later, those images be faded looking. They start looking dark. If you could see this one, it's really clear. I'm gonna go back in a few days. This is going to be real fainted and dark. Maybe it's a setting on our phones or something. I don't know. But a lot of times when I get very good images of a UFO or something like that, because people do get good images. I don't want y'all to think, I've heard people comment on other people's videos, reading the comments. Why every time somebody see a UFO is blurry? That's not always the case. It's some type of technology that's dimming those images and those videos. Like advanced technology that's able to send a signal to do that. That's the only explanation. Because I've recorded, I remember one time I recorded a UFO at a park. And it was at night. And I walked back like through some woods or something, Only me was back there as far as I was concerned. And it was real good imaging. No, no wasn't smeared or nothing or none of that. It was a very good image. And I got back home and checked that. Didn't drop the phone or none of that stuff. Do you know that video? It was just a short clip. That video was dark. You could still hear the sounds with me walking, stepping on the branches and all that stuff. You could hear that. Because I started to say no sounds earlier when I first started telling y'all this story right here about the park. But there was the sounds. That's all I was left with. When I say no sounds, I meant no sounds coming from the ship that I saw. No sounds was coming from that. You could hear me talking and stepping on the grass or walking, the branches as they was, whatever. You could hear that, but with no sound coming from the ship. And by the time I got home, that video, that clip it was still on my phone. It was still on my phone. And you could hear me. I was talking a little bit, and then you could hear me as I'm walking and smashing stuff, under my feet. That video was black. Pitch black. And it wasn't like that because I checked the video. Once I got out of the area where I was, I looked and checked and said, oh, I was so excited. I got a good one. I got a good one. It's clear. When I got home, that thing was black. Only thing it had was sound. Nothing was there but the sound. So could it have been something wrong with my phone? Sure. But when I think some people videos are fake. Some people just don't have good devices. But on the other hand, I think that stuff is being tampered with. When the government goes in and looks and sees stuff, and they know what's real. It doesn't have nothing to do with the people. Like the government is watching these channels. They're watching channels that's putting this stuff up. They know what's real and what's not. Like they know. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of my videos that were good, I try to get, I try to share the good stuff with y'all. I don't just try to put anything on my channel. Like my stuff is good. A lot of my stuff, it gets faded, and I don't know if it's my devices that I'm using or what. Now, somebody commented on one of my pages. They didn't understand why I was trying to get rich off of this. I've never tried to get rich off of this. Let me, yeah, very strange designs. Now, let me stress to you, I was never trying to get rich off of this. The only thing that I even had to GoFundMe. Never got one dime on it. They eventually paused it because no activity was on it. The only thing I ever asked for was donations so I could get, better cameras, buy some, some memory cards, just things like that. I still share my content, and I've been doing this over 12 years now, longer than that, but nobody's never sent me anything. I'm just sharing, my experiences with people. I'm not charging people for this. But I have asked for donations for just stuff that would be related to this. Nobody's never sent me anything, but I continue to share anyway because I think that's why God gave me the ability. Everybody can't get the message out. And sometimes, my delivery may not be so good neither. But, I'm just trying with what I think I'm supposed to do with this ability. This look like feet down here. Like when a chicken or a hen sit a certain way and they bring in their feet and ball up their feet, them two arrows, them two lines at the bottom, that look like feet down there that I'm pointing at. This look like a beak right here. This other arrow is pointing at a beak, like the front of the face. And it's a hole in the top of the head. Now, this is probably not a real animal. And look at the claws at the end. But this look like a tiny ship that's designed to look like a hen or something. Or maybe it's a real entity. I don't know. Look like it has an antenna on the back of it. And some little cameras all over it. So, I don't know. At the end of this, these look like claws or feet down here at the bottom. I already showed y'all that. Now that's all, look at this. This is at the bottom of an orb. These look like little cameras up here. The arrow at the top, those look like little cameras positioned in a certain way. And the tall thing straight up and down looks like an antenna. I'm sorry, I'm just saying what it looks like to me. Does it have to be that? No, but that's just what it looks like to me. Again, pointing at these little things at the bottom that look like claws or feet. Is it all together? This is the whole thing. You can see everything. You can see the feet down there. You can see what I think is cameras up there. And an antenna. This little tiny thing this was a small orb. Why would this orb have what looks like to be cameras all over it? It's shaped like a bird. So that's what I wanted to talk to y'all about today. I just wanted to go over some things with you guys. This is crazy. You can see the little leg bent at the bottom, like it's been pulled in. Now I think this is just a design. I think it's a little tiny ship. I don't think this is a real, entity. I think this is that, it's. I don't know if the orb is reflecting the ship, or is this actually these things are this tiny to fit in something this small. But you can see the difference in the texture, and you can see the mist over it. That's the orb. That's what you see, the orb. The only way you see this extra stuff is if you zoom in and enlarge it. Otherwise, it just looked like a regular old orb. They come in different colors, but it just looked like a regular old orb, just flying past the closet until I enlarged it. And here you look like you see some feet at the bottom, and antenna, and the face that looks like a hen or some type of chicken. Again, this one. Why would this be at the bottom of an orb? And people want to scream pareidolia. Y'all, if you don't know what it is, I get it. But I mean, you just don't have to comment at all. And I find that I get very few comments. I hardly get any comments on my stuff because I guess people just don't know what to say. I've been dealing with this since I was a kid. I don't really know what to say. Like, it's unbelievable to me too. So you're not the only one. Look at that. This was my grass. And no, people walking past didn't see it. The camera showed it. Specific cameras, specifically infrared, night vision, the kind military would use, the soldiers and stuff. Those cameras would show this stuff. So somebody walking past didn't see eyes in my grass. I looked out the porch door. I saw grass. I didn't see eyes in my grass. The camera showed eyes in my grass. I just saw this was a real colorful orb. Something told me to enlarge it. This is an entity. This ain't a normal orb. but they show themselves in as orbs. This was not an orb at all. It's just a spirit. And this is how I see spirit. They look like holograms or something to me. This was an orb. And kind of like you see them little blue dots and red dots around this one. This was a dot. Literally. And it was a psychedelic dot. It wasn't just one color. It was more blue, but it was just like a rainbow color orb that flew past my TV. And this the last one. Remember, we going over it again. There your little troll right there. And looks like he got something in his hand that's pointed towards the orb. So maybe this device in his arm is what's making that, I cut the picture off, but when you look at the whole picture, I got lines going to it. Maybe the device in his hand was what's making the orb project. Now, is he a bad or a good entity? Just because he looked like this? I don't know. The TV, present trolls as bad, But this was at one of my older houses. It was a big house. I got a smaller house now. Because my house was big. Everybody moved out, so I got a smaller house. So this was taken at one of my older houses. Well, my last house. And where I'm at now, I've been here like 8 years. So this is older than 8 years. This right here. But the TV tell us that because this is what he looks like. He looks like a troll to me. Y'all can comment what y'all think. With the big nose and the ears and stuff. This looks like a troll. What they would call a troll. When you see TV, it reminds me of a troll. Look at the feet. It just looked like toes. Big, giant, weird looking toes. And there's something in his arm. His arm is bent. You can see his hand. You see that? That's him behind this orb. I just separated him and enlarged him. But this is him behind this orb. And I never saw him till years later because I was really just focusing on the orb. But it made me start paying attention when you see orbs to look around the area where the orb is at. I wanted to thank you guys for hanging in there with me. And I don't really, ask for donations and stuff. I used to put my Cash App info. But I don't know, maybe you can go and see it in my YouTube description or something. I used to put it under my videos. I stopped doing that because that just looks thirsty. So, I've been doing this over 10 years. Nobody's never sent me anything, and I'm just going to continue to share. But if somebody want to send me a couple of dollars, so I can, buy, storage, I can buy some cloud, just little small things like that, a cup of coffee, as the other YouTubers say. My channel is not monetized because I don't have enough subscribers, but I think my Cash App is ever1974, and I'm not sure about that, but I think that's what it is. If anybody want to send me $1 or something, $2 or $3, so I could buy some memory, things like that. You know what I'm saying? More cloud space for more storage. Yeah, that would be nice. Some coffee, so I can stay woke and edit these things. But other than that, you guys, I appreciate you. You ain't never sent me nothing. You ain't got to send me nothing. I'm going to keep on sharing because I think that's why God gave me the ability in the first place. Okay? So thank you guys. I appreciate you stopping by, and Bye bye for now.